well, x, and when x is less than or equal to -1, and this is negative x plus 4 when x is greater than -1. What they're telling you is this is a parabola, and this is a line, and they change behavior at -1. At -1, to the left of -1, okay, to the left of -1, it looks like a parabola, and then to the right of -1, the graph looks like a line, or graph is a line. Okay. So the graph is a parabola to the left, and graph is a line to the right of -1. So this is known as a piecewise function. So when they ask you to find f of -2, this is my x value. So I have to find out which one do I use for this. Since this is telling me, okay, that when x is less than -1, I use the parabola. So since -2 is less than -1, I have to use the parabola. 3 times -3 times -2 squared plus 2. And when I square the -2, I'm going to get a 4, and I have a plus 2, which is 12, plus 2, which is 14. Now, here's an example. Let's say this is 1, okay, but this is an example. Let's say if I ask you to find f of 10. Okay, f of 10, since 10 is bigger than -1, I have to use the line, which will be -10 plus 4. The answer is -6. What if I say f of -1? Well, -1, since there's an equal sign here, okay, I have to use the parabola. Okay, I can't use the line. So it'll be 3 times -1 squared plus 2, okay, and that is going to give me -1 squared is positive 1. Let's be 3 plus 2, and that's equal to 5. Now, sometimes, and I don't think we have that here, but sometimes you'll get something like this. Okay, so let me clear and do another example for you. Okay, first of all, I have to clear this out. So, and clear that one. Okay, so let's say if they want you to find f of a. Well, which one do I use? Well, I have to use both of them because I don't know if a is positive or negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 3 times a to the second plus 2. So I'm just putting a for x. And when I do that, I have to also change that. So it'll be a is less than or equal to -1. Okay, and then I write -a plus 4 when a is greater than -1. And that's what f of a is. Okay, so you can do anything you want. You just don't know which one to plug it in. Okay, all right. So let's do graphing of these two problems. So this is actually 4b. So let me clear this out and let's rewrite this. So f of x is equal to a parabola, which is 3x squared plus 2, when x is less than or equal to -1, and then -x plus 4 when x is greater than -1. Okay, let's graph the parabola. So if we were to graph this parabola, of course, this is a parabola that opens up because that's positive. And then I have a 2 plus 2 there. That means instead of starting at 0, 0, it'll start at 2, and it's going to open up. It's going to look something like that. But I got to figure out what the value is at -1. So when I put in -1, so f of -1, that's going to give me 3 times -1 squared plus 2, and it turns out to be 5, which we did that. So we're going to go over here, call this -1, and we're going to call this 5, Okay, so let me get myself just a line a little bit longer, y-axis. Okay, and let's call that 5. So at -1 is going to be 5. Okay, alright, better move that down a little bit. So okay, so come across, and we'll call that 5. Alright, so this parabola only exists to the left of -1. So that means it only exists in this portion of it. Okay, it doesn't exist anywhere else. So that means I will have to erase everything to the right of it. So that part of the parabola now disappears. Okay? Now, what do I graph in place of that? Is I'm going to graph that line. Well, let's find out what, even though I can't plug it in, let's find out what the value is for the line. So when I plug in -1, that'll be -1. Okay, negative of -1 plus 4. So that's going to give me 5. So that's one of my points. Okay, even though it's not equal to that, this will fill it in. So that's one of my points. What's my other point? Well, all we need is one more point. So let's plug in 0. Find out what that is. F of 0. Okay, so that's going to give me -0 plus 4, which is going to give me 4. So that is going to be, okay, so now try to change this too, so I can have a little bit of room to graph this. So let me move the 2 down here. Okay, and then call that 2. Okay, now, so I have that point, and at 0 I have that point, we'll call that 4. So I have a line that goes through these 2 points and looks like that. Okay, so this is part of the parabola that's going to keep on going, okay, to the left of -1, and then to the right of -1 it turns out to be a straight line, goes through this point and this point, and it goes down, and it has a negative slope. And that's how you graph piecewise function. This is the graph of that. Okay? Alright. I just want to graph a couple more things and write them as piecewise functions. This is 5b. And we get y is equal to absolute value of x plus 4. Well, we know we get a v when we graph this. Well, what does a 4 do? It moves it 4 units to the left. So we have a v that moves 4 units to the left. It means -4, and it opens up. So we get that. Alright, this is one line, and this is the other line. Okay, remember we also know absolute value means two things. Y is equal to x plus 4, that's the positive part of it, and then we also get y is equal to negative of x plus 4. That's why I told you to write it as two different things. This inside could be a negative. Alright, well, which one goes with what? Well, we know it changes at when x is equal to -4. So at -4 it changes from one line to the other. Well, since this line has a negative slope, means it's going down, so it's got to be that. So we're going to write this as a piecewise function. So f of x is equal to, okay, negative of x minus 4. I just distribute the negative sign. I don't have to, but I just did that. When x is to the left of -4, when x is less than or equal to -4. And then what happens to the right? Well, the right is this line right here. That means it's a line that has a positive slope. That's got to be that. So x plus 4 when x is, now you can use greater than or equal to, or you can just use greater than, because they meet right there anyway. So we'll just use greater than or equal to -4. You get this line. Alright, that brings us to one more problem, then I'm done. So your notes are done. after this problem. So tomorrow I'm just going to review in the class. This is 5D, so if you have any questions, I will answer those for you tomorrow. Y is equal to the absolute value of x squared minus 5x plus 6. Alright, so when we have absolute value, okay, everything has to be positive. Okay, so this inside here, if we didn't, let's say we didn't have an absolute value, then this would be just like y is equal to x squared minus 5x plus 6. Well, we know that's a parabola, and if you were to factor that, I'm going to get x minus 3 and x minus 2, okay, in a factored form. That means x is equal to 3 is a 0, and x is equal to 2 is 0, or they're the roots of that parabola. So what that means is this parabola at 3 and 2, so let's call this 2 and call that 3, it crosses the x-axis. We found the roots. Now, we also know that this parabola here, it opens up. So technically my parabola is going to look like this. Okay, somewhere, I don't know how far it's going to go, but right now we're not going to worry about the vertex right there. Okay, so it's going to go down. It's going to look like that. But what happens as soon as you put an absolute value? Well, what does absolute value mean? Absolute value means everything has to be positive. That means this part that I have here, okay, which is below the x-axis, since that's negative, that's got to become positive. So it's got to jump up, okay, and become positive. So it changes, it switches, okay, and it opens down now. Okay, so that means I no longer have this part right here. Okay, now how do I write this as a piecewise function? Well, remember, the left part, okay, of positive 2, that's this original parabola. That's just this right here. Okay, and then the right part of 3 is also the original parabola. It's that right there. The only part that changed is between 2 and 3. And what happened? It became opposite of what it was. So let's write that out. So f of x is equal to, okay, x squared minus 5x plus 6 when x is, let me erase these things a little bit here, when x is, okay, when x is less than or equal to 2. That's this part right there, because that's the original parabola. Okay, and then in between 2 and 3, it becomes opposite of that. That means opposite means I'm going to put a negative sign, x squared minus 5x plus 6, okay, when x is greater than or equal to 2 and less than or equal to 3. Okay, so between 2 and 3, it became opposite of what it was. And then finally on the right side, I'm getting back to the original parabola again, so that part goes back being x squared minus 5x plus 6. Okay, that is when x is greater than or equal to 3. And that's it. This is now written as a piecewise function. Okay, and if you didn't write this as a piecewise function, if you were to write this as one equation, this whole thing is the same thing as this. So absolute value, y is equal to absolute value of x squared minus 5x plus 6, is a short way of writing all that. Instead of writing all that, we write it like this, we get the same graph. Okay, that's it.